Welcome back, everybody, to the Whiskey and Business Podcast. I'm Josh. This is Travis.
Hello.
Today, we got a Kentucky Best whiskey. It's from Trader Joe's, aged 4 years. I guess it has, caramel and honey flavors.
That's what I
notes. Hear. This is $14. So I'm not very hopeful, but Travis thinks it's going to be some hidden gem that we're going to try.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
We're also going to talk about business today.
So today's topic is going to be all about business listings, Google My Business, Apple Maps, all that good stuff, why you should be on it, and why it's important to your business. Because, I mean, do you really exist if you're not on those listings?
No.
like, let's be real. So let's give this a try, and then we'll let you know at the end what it tastes like. And let's get into it, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, dude, you were about to guzzle that without the cheers, bro.
Just knock it back, you know.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay.
We'll talk more about that later.
Let me let that sit in for a second, which is crazy too, because I'm on a 30-day fast. This is going to obviously break my fast.
Dedication.
But I'm 11 days in, so I'm probably done after this class because I got nothing in my stomach right now.
So this may be an interesting podcast.
Nope. Same old podcast. But yeah, so let's get into it. So in businesses in general, when you start out a business, you're gonna either that's rebranding, coming up with a startup, or even doing a new storefront, right? First thing you do, get your business on Google or Apple. Mostly Google, just because that's the conglomerate that has most of the audience base that searches. But that's the first step you should be taking in any business, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't, I mean, you're losing out on hundreds of thousands of people that search for your business, your topic, your service, or your niche, right? So if you're really not on there, you don't really exist. That's why I said that in the beginning.
Yeah, and that's a big part of your whole SEO management that you do through your company, right?
Right.
That is a huge part of it.
That's a huge part of it. It became a bigger part. So think about a year ago, where Google, because there's Yelp, people use Yelp for reviews, whatever. Right. But Google is losing out on people using the platform. And so they thought about how can we combat all these services that list businesses and people go to shop around for going to a restaurant or going shopping or going to a service-based business. So what they did is now like reviews, testimonials, FAQs, that all indexes on your local rankings now, where it used to not do that at all. Mm-hmm. It used to be just you got your Google My Business listing, and then you got your reviews, and then that was it. But Google's only going to index your name and a couple other parts of it, like pictures, posts, videos, or whatever. Now they just want everybody to use their platform. And they pretty much want Google to be like a stop and shop of they don't even want you to hit the website at that point. They want you to book for appointments on the listing. They want you to go and already pick out what you're going to eat on there. They want you to do everything. So they're pretty much combating all the services that list businesses other than Google. And so that's a huge update. So that became where I would manage a Google listing for my SEO service, where that would be like 10-20% of what I do, because it wasn't really that impactful in terms of local search results or whatever. That was more into the meta descriptions, title tags. That's all the SEO topics. Right. But now it's like that listing. If you don't have all your stuff filled out, if you don't have your FAQs on there, if you don't have people doing reviews all the time, you're not going to do as well as the next person that in your same industry that does all that work on that listing.
Well, and didn't Google, even within the My Business app, make it so people have their own website just specifically on Google?
Yeah. Yes. That's
so
funny.
Even if they don't have their own website made, they can create a custom Google domain website that acts as an intermediary.
That's right.
Thing. I mean, I thought that was really interesting.
It's cool for it's cool for startup, like bootstrappers, right?
Right.
Because what they do is they go on your listing and you fill out all your stuff, and then they basically this AI just takes your listing and creates this website, and it'll get you by. I mean, obviously it's not going to do as much as a normal website's going to do, but yeah, Google just wants everything. They want everybody to use the service. That's all it is. Because even Apple, even though Apple's so widely used, Safari and all that stuff, that's not as widely used in general as a search engine or like a business listing conglomerate as Google is. Google,
well, people use Apple to go onto Google.
Exactly. Yeah, no, on my phone, it's all Google Chrome, right?
Right.
So, but it's still, a necessary thing to be on the other platforms. It's just, you have to start on one thing. And then you also have to make sure you're optimized for voice and you're optimized for other keywords in your industry, not just the main ones or your name of your business. But that listing is going to be so freaking important for people to find you. It doesn't even matter if you don't have a storefront. Like that's the best part is like you can have, like when I started out my business, I had Miller Media, but I had a service area.
Right.
Where it had a map of where I can go, where I service. I went all the way to I just basically targeted everywhere in my local area from like 100-mile radius, right?
Same.
It's not necessarily going to rank you as high, but you're there, right? So if people are searching for you and then they're going on the listings on the maps or whatever the case may be, they'll still find you. They'll be able to see your phone number, your website, whatever the case may be, but you're there. And it creates this like psychological thing in people's minds where if they don't see you on there, it's almost like you're not a real business.
Right.
Like it's so widely used to use Google, Siri, Safari, whatever the case. But if you're not showing up, they almost don't even want to call you.
Right. It creates instant distrust. Like you lose legitimacy the second you're not on these standard places.
Right.
But let's talk about Apple for a second because I noticed years ago that Apple was using Yelp as plugins through their Apple Maps.
Right.
So you said Apple has its own directory style thing. Are they still like just utilizing Yelp, or do they have their own place where people should be listing their businesses through Apple?
Yeah. So you should be listing on Apple Maps. So Apple Maps is a separate conglomerate than Yelp.
Okay.
Apple used to pull directory data from a lot of places. They're creating their own platform with their future updates now more than ever. They have they're doing 3D map views and whatever. They're coming out with their iOS 15s and stuff like that. But for now, Apple Maps is a whole nother business listing to get on.
Right. And they used to be linked straight up with Yelp.
Right.
But they've moved away from that now.
Yeah, because that was in the beginning stages.
Right, when Apple Maps was just brand new.
Right. And 40% of the market uses Apple Maps. You know what I mean? Like not everybody uses Google Maps or even Google in general. They just use Safari and Apple Maps. So you want to be on both. Those are the two main sources. Then you can get into getting your stuff on Bing, making sure your Facebook information is the same as your Google listing, making sure your Instagram stuff is the same as your Google listing, making sure all of it's the same. So then it's cohesive on every platform, and then Google pulls from all these other places to rank even higher.
They pull reviews from Facebook and from other prominent rating agencies, right?
Right.
There's so many different places that it just builds a huge network of your reputation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like if you Google somebody's business, you can usually see Facebook how many stars, Yelp how many stars, this how many stars. They pull from everything, but
That's a really smart.
They want the listing though to be there.
Right.
They want Google listing first. That's priority number one. If you don't have a Google listing, you're not going to get indexed for that stuff anyways.
Right. Which is why it was so good and a relief when they abandoned Google Plus.
Oh my gosh.
Because that was the cringiest thing I've ever seen.
Sheesh.
As I was indexing my own company years and years ago, I'm like,
it's horrid.
It was painful. I'm like, I have to do this. This is Google. Anything with Google on it, I know, and I was just spitballing at the time. I didn't know everything I know today.
Right.
But I'm like, but I know that if Google's telling me, create this for your business, I'm going to do whatever Google tells me to do.
Right. And the Google Plus was a flop, but at the end of the day, it kind of taught Google where the priority should be. Because the Google listing, the Google My Business, wasn't really necessarily a priority for them. Right. Now it is. It's priority number one. They're updating that thing constantly. They're actually creating Google My Business stories soon. So that's in the works. So then people can create 15 to 30 second little video stories or picture stories about their business that day, right?
Right.
It's insane. But so when you have a business though, and you start out and you're focusing on, I need to get my website up, or I need to go get this stuff for my business. I need to get inventory. It's the first thing you should do is make it official. get a listing together, get it on Google and Apple, and just kind of leave it there. Let it kind of sit. Get some of your family members to go get some reviews. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, just get some traction, and then focus on the website, then focus on the other things, because you need your listing to be connected to everything, especially if you're going to run ads. Your listing is like this like central hub for where you're at, especially with like, even in Coeur d'Alene alone, thousands of people are searching for stuff a day. And if they can't search for your service, you're not going to get the business. And then you wonder why people aren't coming in your store.
And the nice thing about Google Maps and the Google business listing is it's not like it gets throttled at the same level that Facebook does. You may have a Facebook page with a good reputation, but what's the percentage of people who actually see that? Versus Google, they are much more straightforward of, yeah, if you pay for an ad, all that'll also pop up. But if they're searching for your service like automatically and you have a good listing, they don't keep people from seeing it just to keep people from seeing it.
Right.
Facebook, it's like they set up this paywall.
Oh, 100%.
Before people even find your page. And then if they find your page, you know, they might just gloss over it. They're not searching for businesses. But Google, they really leaned heavily into making it a resource, which I really appreciate, because they don't kind of trick people into pursuing likes and reviews and follows and then pull the carpet out from underneath you.
Well, that was the whole thing with Yelp. So Yelp got into the habit of if you get bad reviews, they put the bad reviews always first, and then they call you and say, hey, pay us $1,200 a month and we'll get those reviews taken off. And it's like, if you're not paying to play, like, because a lot of people have pride in that. They're like, why would I, like, I'm not going to pay you just to, like, have my business, like, look better on your platform. Like, it's kind of a scummy thing to do. And a lot of people opted out, but it hurts them because Yelp is widely used still to this day.
Well, and then they wouldn't even show the positive reviews if a person hadn't reviewed a bunch of other things. They flag the positive ones as suspect, but let the negative ones rise to the top.
Exactly.
And then gouge people.
Exactly.
That happened to me, and they called me to sell some advertising, like, hey, you know, do you want to pay blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, no, because you guys did this.
Yikes.
Oh, no, but you guys did this. I remember very clearly what you guys did. Oh, we would never do that. I'm like, but you did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, they're not going to, like, advertise that they do that stuff, but they do. Like, that's the whole thing. But Google, Apple, they're super unbiased in the sense of listings. Like, they just are. Because, I mean, how realistically can you hide a listing unless you're like a Fortune 500 company that's very controversial? Then, you know, maybe they might do some stuff to you, and that's not right, but they, you know, that's their platform. But if you're just like a standard business, you're not on their radar. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's got a playing field. It's just about who's doing it better, who's doing the daily updated videos, who's doing the daily updated photos, who's putting in their offers on there, who's doing their FAQs, answering the questions. Like, those people are going to outrank everybody. There's people that can, like, have a business here for like 10 years and then they've just been coasting their listing, right? Their listing has just been sitting there. It's all incomplete, whatever. They've just been ranking, you know, first. Right. And then somebody new comes in with new, fresh eyes and wants to get all this stuff. They can do all the right stuff and then outrank them in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's a level playing field, and it's not pay to play.
Right.
They don't keep you from succeeding because you're not paying them money.
Right.
Which is awesome.
You could still pay to play for the maps.
Oh yeah,
I mean, in anything, but for the most part,
money does wonders. But it's not
as bad.
Throttling you.
Exactly.
That you can pay to do better, but they're not throttling you and actively keeping you from succeeding like some of these other companies.
Right. And also, like, when it comes to your Google listing, like, so I'll go from like the hierarchy, right? So when I say Google listing, I'm realistically like saying like any of your listings, like Google My Business, you know, Apple Maps, Waze, whatever the case may be. Your hierarchy should make sure that your name, your phone number, your email, your website, that's all cohesive on every platform. There's not a different one, because you want that to all pull the same. Then you focus on answering people's questions. What do you get asked for the most? Write in those answers and on your listing. Then cool. Then you go into like making sure your information on the listing is all accurate. Like, you got your COVID-19 update. What do you guys do for that? You got your info of services, your niche, whatever topic you're in, and like all these things when you're open and your holiday hours, all this stuff. Focus on getting just all that dialed in. Spend the hour or two just gaining all this stuff, making your listing look all nice, pristine, nice logo, not a blurry one, nice pictures, not stock photos. That's the worst thing I see is people use stock photos. It's horrible.
Getty images.
Gosh,
on them.
I know, dude. It's horrible. But like real life videos or pictures of what you've been doing, and then just kind of let it sit there and then manage it. Every day, kind of just start slow. Post a picture here and there. Get used to the platform. And then it becomes like this habit of like I always got to constantly update my Google listing because or whatever listing because you've generated this like habit of that's a priority to me because it should be.
Well, how it used to be too is you just throw things out there and hope that Google gets it and starts to integrate it. Now you have a straight resource to add things straight to Google, and that is a huge change.
Right.
Like, that's a game changer.
Right. Yeah, you can. Yeah, pretty much. It's like you should be updating daily. Like the whole thing is you should be on there every day, because like pictures on there. If you go in your statistics, like I mean, how many people click to get directions? How many people click to call? But then you'd be surprised of how many people view photos.
Right.
Like, dude, there's thousands of people a month just view photos from your listing because they see the listing and then they scroll past it and they see it, boom, they're done. But if your photos and videos are like meh, you're not wowing them to go call you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's super important. I mean, just constantly updating that stuff, and it should be priority number one for every business. I don't care what marketing strategy you do. I don't care what anybody's told you. You should focus on your listing management of your business. Just pick a couple platforms, focus on those, get good at it, because at the end of the day, people are searching for this thousands of times a day for your service. You want to be on the forefront. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much, that's pretty much the topic of the day is just getting into that. It gets into a little bit heavier when you start adding paid advertising and you start adding in all the SEO stuff. This is just kind of the bare bones basics of like, when you have a business, this is where you should be, and this is what you should start doing.
Yeah. And this would be a great segment for people just starting out to listen to. It's like, hey, do all these things first. At least focus on these directories that people search through. And then adding all the social stuff later as you go will just give more power. Right.
And then you start ramping up. So like when I do listing management for people, I get them on about 60 to 70 platforms because that's like, Yellow Pages, Get Local, Waze, all that good stuff. But everything's cohesive. But I focus on the main two, which is Google My Business and then Apple Maps. And then I optimize it for search and voice for both of those. And then you go into the social media, and then you just branch out into all these other listing conglomerates that people use.
And then once those are already added, then the crawlers from Google, those two will start to recognize the more places that are popping up.
Right.
And they'll raise your listing as far as, oh, they aren't just one thing here.
Right. It's like omnipresence, right? So it's like if you're everywhere online, you're going to outrank somebody that's not. You know what I mean? If they're only on a couple listings and you're on freaking 70 to 80 or whatever, yeah, you got a lot more skin in the game than the average person or the average business. So therefore, you're going to rank a little bit higher. And especially, you're taking advantage of like the small slice percentage of the market that uses Yellow Pages or that use like, Get Local or whatever, right? Because people still use that stuff. MapQuest, just random stuff where you're just like, well, nobody's on that platform. It's like, well, no, they are, like Bing and Yahoo. Like, those are, people still use that stuff.
Yeah, but where are those places going to pull from? Probably, like, on the local level, on the small local level, because we live in a smaller area.
Right.
If a person's building a directory or a person wants to know who to direct people to, they are immediately going to go to Google. They're probably not searching Yellow Pages off the bat. They're going to go with whatever browser spits them into Google and then look at the top three. Oh, those must be the three best businesses.
Right.
Generally
speaking, the best thing to keep in mind is when people search for stuff, they usually search for businesses on the platform that they use GPS with.
Right.
So if they're using Google Maps, they're going to use Google My Business. If they're using Apple Maps, they may use Safari or whatever the case may be. But whatever they're using for their GPS, they're normally searching on the same platform for the businesses on that. So that's why I always say Google My Business and Apple Maps are going to be the best, because that's like most of the market for the GPS stuff. Waze is, I mean, people still use Waze here and there, not so much local here. It's more of like the bigger cities, because it's like a publicly generated, form of like people saying there's a cop here, there's an accident here. It's like publicly kind of inputted. Whereas, Google and Apple, they just go based off of how many people are driving the same directions, and they kind of based off that.
Well, and Google and Apple are like really good with the geo-targeting, because like if you were to, I think people have been educated through trial and error by looking up a grocery store or a gas station and then finding one in Minnesota. It's like, oh wait, no, that's not what I meant to find on Facebook or on Bing. Okay, hold on, let me just open Google Maps, gas station, and then boom.
Yeah.
We've been educated. These are the places that you search for things when you want to find them in your area, and that's become their specialty.
Yes, and they actually have predetermined buttons now too, where if people are searching for a service, it's usually like people can just click a button where it says food and beverage, lawyer, dentist, but if your listing doesn't explicitly say that's your service, or you don't have a listing, you ain't gonna pop up.
Right.
They're gonna go to the first one that usually people click on the first or second one, maybe the third,
because
that pops
it must
up.
be the best.
Right. And they go down the list, and it's a good segue too, because when people call off the listings, hopefully you didn't hear that. My computer beeped, so hopefully they didn't hear that in the mics.
Might just have to cut.
Yeah. No, I don't think they heard it. We just kind of made a blooper reel, which is good.
Super.
What people don't realize is like when people call you off of those listings, it's super funny too, because I did the same thing. Like I do all the, like I do a lot of marketing, right?
Well, that one
Jeez
was even louder.
Louise.
Dude, what's up with your computer, man?
I don't know. I didn't mute it. That was my mistake. What people don't realize is like, so when I called like a trash removal service, and I called the first one, they didn't answer. Called the second one, they didn't answer. Third one picked up. Service I got. Right. And then they called me back like 40 minutes later. And I was like, sorry. Like, I mean, that was it. So even if you have a listing, that goes in, now it goes into how good is your sales, how good is your follow-up, and making sure you answer these leads that come in.
How accessible are you? Yeah,
that's a whole nother topic that I really want to get into, is like how to cater leads and how fast you should be responding to people, and how you can implement maybe a call center and stuff like that, because it's super important when either I'm generating leads off of a listing SEO or you're doing ads. There's numerous times where I'll talk to clients and they've missed a lot of these leads because they didn't answer their phones.
Right.
They went somewhere else. That was it. They lost the call, and they ain't coming back.
Yeah. I know a buddy who runs a junk removal service, and he said, called this person 45 seconds later, lost the sale.
Yep.
He gets like 10 of those a day.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people calling.
Yep.
And he's just like, so that'll be a good episode.
It needs, yeah. Follow up is the key if you want all the business, especially when you're dealing with services that are widely searched and they have a lot of competition. So that'll be a nice little topic. But yeah, let's finish up this one. So let's just go dive into this whiskey, man. I mean, so what are your thoughts? I'm going to take another drink while you go over your thoughts. I don't know, man.
It's not worth your $15.
So this said it had what? Honey and caramel. I get very like a perfumey, alcohol-y, strong bitterness.
It has a very strong hit right in the back of the throat.
It's like a big aroma, like in my, like, it's almost like to me, this is my opinion, it's almost like I had perfume and I squirted it in my drink.
Oh, yeah.
And then I drank it.
I like there's an aftertaste that comes about that's more of a smoky. I don't know where they, like maybe in the very latent aftertaste, do I taste the sweet? But the hit like covers everything.
The Trader Joe's. I don't know. Not my cup of tea. But for you have the smoke flavor. I'm getting, like, you have the smoke flavor. I'm getting, like, the harsh alcohol-y, like, bite to it.
You think there's alcohol in this?
No. Alcohol-free whiskey.
Must be. Well, we may have to try the Scotch one day. But
Yeah. So I would say, what do you say? Is it a win or a loss for $14?
At $14, it might be good if you mixed it. I mean, that would be a good
You know
one,
what?
maybe with
This
some
might be an
ginger.
old fashioned, or, yeah, it might be something you mix it with. I don't think it's a sipper. Definitely not a sipper.
No, I don't know if I'd take it straight.
No, I wouldn't, dude. Yeah. I mean, but it is good. $14. You go there, then you get some, then you make some old fashions or whatever you want to do.
Kentucky Mules.
Yep, Kentucky Mules. I think that would be good.
Yeah, I think it might be a good mixer. I don't know if you would pour it straight over ice
No.
or even just sip it straight.
Unless you want to burn your throat
A
off.
little bit harsh.
Yeah.
Maybe put some hair on your chest. It's like, okay, I gotta step it up here. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
and sip on this just to hurt myself.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're pacing yourself, you're like, okay, I don't want to drink that much today, so I'm going to sip on this because it's gonna hurt with every sip.
Yeah,
You know?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess you could do that.
It's good moderation technique.
I didn't taste any of the caramel or honey, so I don't know. That one's not my cup of tea, but
Damn shame.
maybe I'll try it in a mixer. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this week's episode of Whiskey and Business Podcast. If you go on our you can cut that. So thanks for watching, guys, on this episode of Whiskey and Business Podcast. You can find our podcast on, now we actually have another channel too, right?
Yeah, we have the YouTube channel now.
Yes. So we actually were sharing our podcast on both of our media channels, but now we have a Whiskey and Business Podcast YouTube channel and a page on Facebook, correct?
And Instagram.
And Instagram. So we're going to be uploading this stuff to that. We'll put the links down in the description below. You'll find all that stuff there. We'll share it on our platforms too if you've been going to our pages to find it. But we wanted to kind of like separate this out and make everything cohesive because we do post a lot of content on our own pages and it kind of gets buried a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll put all the links in the description. Thanks for watching this week's, guys, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.